First slide, please. How to be the change the world needs. I've been asking myself this question daily since March 2020. If there's any good that could come from the tragedy of pandemic deaths, it could perhaps be the invitation to once again think of humanity as dependent on one another, dependent on our shared planet for our present health and future survival, just as we did for the first Earth Day 50 years ago. I'm old enough to remember that. Some of you are too. Here at UUI, I'm surely preaching to the choir when it comes to climate change, since so many of you are woke, truly motivated by the light of understanding, the warmth of compassion, and the fire of commitment. Yet I wonder how many of you struggle with the same questions I do. Am I doing enough to prevent the destruction of our natural world so that my children, our children, can enjoy the beautiful, sustainable diversity of life that I have known? I'm currently donating to 5 different environmental organizations, 1 international, 2 national, 2 local, heading up the Green Faith Initiative at Christian Theological Seminary down the street where I teach. And our trustees are working on divestiture, and yet it doesn't feel like enough. Last June, the first day of class for my eco-theology and eco-psychology course was June 6th, the very day that the clouds came down from Canada because of the terrible fires there and brought us unbreathable air. It wasn't our first climate change wake-up call, and it won't be our last. Our climate isn't just changing. Due to the negative feedback loops accelerated by CO2, this is science, in the air we breathe, we are now facing tipping points. Glaciers are melting, sea level is rising, and even the permafrost is beginning to melt, which is letting more CO2 come into the air. So we've got accelerating negative loops. Some climate scientists fear that if we fail to rapidly reduce CO2 levels in the next 5 years, the future damage to the biosphere will be irreversible. Not bad news for the cockroaches, but bad news for millions of species, including us. How to be the change the world needs. Worst of all, these tipping points were predicted back in the 70s, 50 years ago. I was an undergraduate then, studying ecology and economics. I knew something was wrong with capitalist economics when I was taught as a core principle that there would always be scarcity. I raised my hand to say, couldn't people decide they have enough? And my instructor just glared at me. No, first principles should not be questioned. But ecology won my heart. Those core principles made sense to me. I could see the truth of the principles that diverse ecosystems that have their own interwoven sustainability are far less volatile than degraded ecosystems, which is what happens when we mess with the environment. At the School of Natural Resources at the University of Michigan, I was able to study with Dan Jansen, who is a leading tropical ecologist, and I wrote my senior thesis on why transferring fossil fuel-based agriculture to the tropics is a bad idea. Still is. So I wrote that senior thesis knowing the problems of exporting fossil fuel monoculture, and yet I fell asleep somehow, and my awareness wasn't awoken until Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth and Greta Thunberg's Righteous Indignation woke me up again. How could I, who already knew so much, be so unconscious? That's a question I've been asking myself for a while. How to be the change the world needs. Now that I've been teaching counseling students for 25 years, I think I've figured out something about what we're up against. When it comes to planet-sized problems, we humans tend to get mired in denial, dissociation, and despair. Denial is in the news every day. Don't think about it. It's not really happening. The sad truth is that climate scientists tried to educate our leaders about this back in the 70s. And few listened because it wasn't in their interest to do so. It took massive demonstrations to get then President Richard Nixon to create the Environmental Protection Agency, the Clean Air Act, and the Clean Water Act. But people focused on short-term profits have been trying to undermine these very protections ever since. Have you seen the movie Don't Look Up? How many people have seen that? Okay, you've seen it. It's a really great parable, for the willful ignorance of the powers that be. I won't spoil the ending if you haven't seen it. It's a good one. Dissociation is when you know, as I did, that climate change is real and a present danger to life on Earth as we know it, and yet let the awareness fade away because the threat is just too big to think about. We go through our day-to-day lives with our day-to-day problems and fail to remember that our dwelling, our planet, our blue boat home is being threatened. Despair is when we clearly see that what is happening right before our eyes and feel that it's already too late to make a difference. But despair is a trap. Giving up means game over. Waking up means we have a chance to make a difference, all of us, each of us, doing what we can. And by the way, I'm saying all of us because our leaders had a chance, and they have done us no good. So could this moment be when enough of us wake up to the urgency of climate change to demand change and also to take personal responsibility for our carbon footprints? I think it has to be both and. How to be the change the world needs? It can be done. It takes us all together. There are climate solutions. Here at UUI, we can be proud of the work of our green team, the solar panels that provide sustainable carbon neutral energy. And, you know, I would love to have solar panels on my roof right now. We feel we can't afford it, but by coming together, pooling our resources, we did it here at UUI. And the beautiful green campus that is helping the environment of our community. Indiana was once a forest state, and because I've always loved forests, I support the local work of Indiana Forest Alliance. Indiana once had 21 million acres of forest, and we are now down to 4.2 million, and they're being threatened with development every day. Some of you may know that locally, through community action in 2007 and again in 2017, the 30 acres of the Crown Hill North Woods, just down the street here, were protected from development. Now you might say, it's private property. Yes, it is. But these trees affect us all, and I'm looking forward to talking to the new forestry person at Crown Hill to see if maybe they've changed their mind about whether they should just sell this land and pave it over. So here in Marion County, our tree canopy is about 33%, but it takes 40 to 60% tree canopy to protect cities from climate change. And in environments and neighborhoods where people have no trees and nothing but concrete, people are more likely to die. That's a reality, and it's been happening. So we have to continue to think globally and act locally. And I am going to give you some more good solutions because as a teacher, I want you to know there are good solutions out there. You just have to know what they are. So I came across a book the other day, which I have to confess I haven't read yet, but I'm certainly going to read it. The title of this book is Half-Earth Socialism, A Plan to Save the Future from Extinction, Climate Change, and Pandemics. Note that they're not afraid to use the S word. Rather than allow the forces of free market to destroy the planet, we must strive for a post-capitalist society to guarantee sustainability for the entire planet. So this is called half-Earth socialism, and it means rewilding the Earth to absorb carbon emissions and restore biodiversity. We humans need that biodiversity, as do the other creatures. Pursue a rapid transition to renewable energy paired with drastic cuts to, yes, consumption by the world's wealthiest populations, and you know by world standards that is us. Enact global veganism to cut down on energy and land use, inaugurate worldwide socialist planning to efficiently and equitably manage production, and welcome the participation of everyone. Why? Because the powers that be are trying their best to stop progress. I just on NPR this morning heard them talking about, it was Al Gore talking about the next COP meeting, which is when we're supposed to get together and solve climate problems internationally. But who's taking charge? It's the fossil fuel interests. And you have to bet they're trying to put the brakes on everything good that could change. So this is why it's back to us, the ants, the little people. Have you ever turned over a rock and seen how the ants all muster together to pick up their little eggs and move to a safe place? They do it just like that. And how do they do it? Because they work together. They don't say, that's not my egg, I'm not going to deal with it. They pick up the egg and they move it. We all have to do that. And just tonight, what I'm getting to here is the encouragement of coming together, right? We can't do it alone. We have to do it together. Just tonight, Faith in Place is sponsoring a green summit. There's a watch party here in town, and all you have to do is go to Faith in Place, Google it, and you'll find out where and how to get there. But it's also available online. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they're going to have different talks. And it's really encouraging, you know, to go to these things and hear from people who are doing things and feel like you're part of it, right? So you're not isolated and alone. And the keynote speaker is Leah Thomas, author of The Intersectional Environmentalist, How to Dismantle Systems of Oppression to Protect People. So here's the thing. Some people want you to think people are the problem. People are not the problem. The CO2 fossil fuel consumption is the problem, and we can do something about that. And I wonder if any of you got to hear Heather McGhee last Tuesday at CTS. Was anybody able to hear that? Oh, I'm sorry if you missed it. She was so great. Heather McGhee wrote The Sum of Us, What Racism Costs Everyone and How We Can Prosper Together. So here's the really good news about this. All the social problems that we have, all of them, racism, inequality, climate change, environmental threat, they all fit together. And they can all be addressed together, and they all must be addressed together. She gave us the wonderful example, you have to read her book for the details, but she gave us this wonderful example of an African-American community that was told by the fuel oil people, we want to put a pipeline through your community. And they came right out and said, and so the people asked, why our community? And because this was a Black community, they were told, well, it's the path of least resistance. They came right out and said that. So, and you know, these people were threatened with messages on their house, you know, sell us your house or we'll take it from you by eminent domain. Fortunately, on the other side of town, there was a white environmental group that also didn't want this pipeline to go right through their town. Why? Because this town had a wonderful aquifer that was giving clean water to everybody in town. And they knew if the pipeline went through, guess what happens with pipelines? They break, they spill, they mess things up. So the white environmentalists joined with the Black neighborhood, and together they were able to stop this pipeline. And the point is, we can only do this through solidarity. There has to be solidarity. And the thing to resist is any message that would tell you, don't ally yourself with those people, don't talk to those people. That is the message that seeks to divide and conquer, that we have to resist. So finally, how to be the change the world needs? Yes, this is the final slide. We're wrapping up here. We're doing it, you're doing it, and we can do more. No one can do everything, but everyone can do something as we continue to think globally and act locally. This fall, we've blessed backpacks to show our love of learning. We've blessed water to show how precious water is to life. And we have also blessed our pets who remind us with their innocent love how important it is that we care for one another. They give us so much joy just because they exist. No one can do everything, but everyone can do something. If you can't do the protest marches, write letters, send donations. If you're not one of the groups targeted for discrimination, be an ally. And most important, this is what I want to leave you with. Let your heart be your guide. Whatever you feel moved to do it from your heart. I believe we each have a soul knowing, an inner wisdom greater than us. I like to call her Sophia, who can best put us in touch with the earth wisdom of Gaia, our Mother Earth. We need to ally ourselves with all of life, and we'll be better for it. It's not like we're giving up good stuff, you know? We've been trained to surround ourselves with plastic and eat foods that are bad for us and feel like we have to earn so we can buy. Maybe we'd really be better off and happier if we were able to join together to have a sustainable future, not the future that the fossil fuel industry wants for us, but the future that will keep us all healthy and happy and our children living on Earth. So if you get discouraged, I want you to ask yourself this question. Where is the gratitude and where is the joy? Where there is life, we find active hope. And now we can end as we began with gratitude for this beautiful earth, honoring the indigenous wisdom of the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving. I see Helene there at the back. I think this is, she's going to read the closing blessing. And please don't feel burdened by what I've shared, but do feel invited to do what you can do. That's the point.